To see you all here today, whether you're with us in the sanctuary or out there in Zoom world, virtual world. Welcome, welcome. We are glad you're with us. So how about that weather this last week? Holy crow, last week we're freezing off parts of our body we didn't know we had. And then we have 70 during the week, and we have thunderstorms in January. And then today it's kind of okay. I mean, I know the weather changes around here, but come on, people. Jeez. Yeah, it is. Well, that's probably not the best way to start a talk about gratitude, is it? No. So I'm going to give myself a do-over. I'm going to start all over again. I am grateful for living in a part of the country that has 4 distinct seasons. And I mean that. I'm really grateful for that. I will admit, though, by this time I am pretty much over winter. And I'm ready to be grateful for spring. Of course, a few weeks into spring, the pollen shows up, and then I'll start. Oh, did y'all lose me? Okay, now we're back. We're back. Okay, so pollen shows up, I start complaining about pollen, right? Then summer comes along and the pollen is gone, and I'm so grateful I could sit out on the back porch and have my morning coffee and meditation. And a few weeks into summer, a month or so, we start complaining about what? The oppressive heat and humidity. Then my favorite season of the year, fall. I love fall. There's not a big problem with pollen for me. The temperature's okay. I'm back out on the back porch with the morning coffee and the cat and the meditation. And it only lasts 3 weeks. It's like, are you kidding me? Y'all are laughing because you've been there, haven't you? Try this one. We all have all kinds of multiple devices, right? Television, phones, and all this. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of information and entertainment sources. And what do we do when we turn on the TV? There is nothing on TV to watch. Food. How many of us growing up, how many of you growing up ever complained about what was on your plate and one of your parents said, there are starving children in China or India or somewhere in the world who'd be happy with what you have on your plate? Did you ever tell them you'd be willing to ship it to them? No. See, now my sister tried that once. And I can tell you, if I ever did that, I would not be standing here today. No. Okay. So you might laugh a little bit about this, but I can tell you with my upbringing with food, it has stayed with me. The upbringing about food has stayed with me because to this day, it really bothers me to see food wasted. I just really dislike going to buffets and seeing people pile their plates up like this and leaving half of it and just, it just drives me crazy. Oh. Yeah, and it's probably the reason why I've volunteered at community food banks, or I've helped set up food banks at churches where I've been over the years. Food is just a thing for me. Food insecurity. But whether it's food or shelter, health care, or entertainment options, I think if we all just took a minute, stopped, looked around, breathed, checked out our lives, we would realize how blessed we truly are. Yet, somehow that doesn't always stop people from wanting more. Now, does it? Now, I'm not saying it's always wrong to want more and better things out of life. It's a normal part of life. Growing up and when we were working and so forth, you want to move up in your career, you want to make more money, you want to provide and do all that. That's normal. But I think it's also fair to ask the question, when is enough enough? How many times have we caught ourselves saying or heard other people saying, it's just not enough, I need more, I need more? So what I'm talking about here is a scarcity consciousness. How can we move from a consciousness of scarcity to a consciousness of sufficiency? And that's what I'm talking about today. So a couple of weeks ago, you might remember, I talked about being a possibilist. Someone who sees the world as it can or could be. They don't deny what is, they don't deny all the craziness going on in front of them, but they see more. They look beyond that. And we learn that possibility feeds commitment. That is, when we activate our powers of faith and imagination, and we begin to vision and actually believe that more is possible, we tend to be more committed to making that possibility a reality, right? And where does it all begin? In here and in here. Everything starts within. So, holding that thought, we're going to go a little bit deeper today. So let's say you're trying to live what author Lynn Twist calls a committed life. That means you have identified with a cause, with an issue. It could be something related to you personally, something about your own life. It could be something communally. It could be worldwide issues. But something has spoken to you in your life and it will not let you go. And we've made the decision that it's possible for us to make a difference. It's possible for us to address whatever it is. Good for us. And then scarcity consciousness speaks up. You do not have enough time for this. You do not have the money for this. You do not have the education for this. You don't have the skill set for this. And if we don't stop, and if we don't address that scarcity mindset, those best intentions can quickly fall flat and stall out. Twist says that the scarcity mindset, that this consciousness can be debilitating, but it is also transformable. So how do we transform a scarcity mindset? She suggests we start by addressing what she calls the 3 toxic myths of scarcity. First myth, there's not enough. There's not enough of something. Time, food, money, you name it. And when we buy into that, we tend to go into competition mode and fight to get what is ours. I've got mine, it sure must stink to be you. And when we do that, we create separation. We create an us and them mentality that promotes an unhealthy separation, which can, and often does, result in violence. Look at what's going on in the world today. War is a tragic example of this myth. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that scarcity doesn't exist. It does. We see stories about what the ravages of war do to people. We see the stories closer to home about people who are struggling to make ends meet. Oppression and marginalization do exist. And these things often result in some groups of people lacking the very basics that most of us sitting here today sometimes take for granted. So when I say scarcity consciousness, I'm referring to those times when people fail to recognize that they actually do have adequate resources for their lives. Yet they're driven by the desire for more. Twist says, and I agree, that it's this mindset which exacerbates hunger and poverty in the world, and it drives our global inequality. The second myth, more is better. A little is good, more must be better. We convince ourselves we need more time. Although intellectually we know that time is just a human construct that we've all agreed to. Time is time. There's no such thing as too much or too little time. Time just is. Or as Richard likes to remind me, there's 24 hours in the day. I'll say there's not enough time. 24 hours, just like every other day. Ain't love grand? Money. Never enough money. We need more money to buy more stuff. Even when our houses are pretty full already. And probably some folks have storage sheds that have more stuff in it. But we need more stuff. That's old stuff. We need new stuff, right? Nations compete for more land and resources. And what happens? War. Again, look at what's going on. It has been said that more is better is a race that has no end and it has no winners. It is an addiction that never satisfies. In this mindset, even too much is not enough. Buying into this mindset distracts us from feeling satisfied with our current blessings, with what we already have, and it depletes our positive energy and feelings of fulfillment because we're always so busy in the pursuit of more. And folks, if we miss if we don't take time to realize how blessed we are in this moment, if we're always focused on more, we miss what we have here. We can miss the now. The third toxic myth of scarcity is, well, that's just the way it is. It's the way it's always been. Yeah, our family's always been poor. It's always been addicted. It's always been uneducated. Just the way it's always been. The system is rigged against us. It always has been. And what happens? We pass that down through the generations. I believe that's one reason why we have these cycles, people caught in cycles of poverty. Because somewhere along the generational line, somebody just got into that mindset, hey, this is the way it is. And they stayed there. And that's what manifested for them. And it continues to manifest throughout the generations. We pass that on. We have to be careful with that because if we buy into this myth, nothing is ever going to change. Because it can't. And it can't because whether you realize it or not, when we buy into this myth, we're telling the universe what we want. And the universe will provide. Now, I'm not sharing all of this to make anyone feel guilty. We do not do guilt here. I believe we are meant to enjoy life and all of its blessings. There is absolutely nothing wrong with having money and nice things. I like money. I like nice things. I do share this information, however, as something for all of us who are relatively comfortable, who have enough. I want us to think about this. I want us to consider this when we too slip into those times, that mindset of scarcity, because we all do it sometimes, right? So what do you do when you slip into that scarcity mindset? So glad you asked. First of all, we affirm, as Buckminster Fuller did decades ago, the world has enough for all of humanity to thrive. He said that developed properly, used wisely, and distributed fairly, the Earth's resources were more than sufficient to meet our needs. We also use our unity principles to affirm our awareness of God as abundant, unlimited, unfailing, an ever-rare present source, always available to us when we are open to receive it through faith. What do we say here? We already have everything we need to do what is ours to do. Sometimes we just think it's all ours to do, and it's not. We remember our 5 foundational unity principles. God is one. God is. And because God is, we are. We are a part of and an expression of the one. We use our thoughts to help create our reality and our responses to what comes our way. We connect to Source. We connect to God through prayer and through meditation. And then we take all of those principles and we put feet to them. We put them to work in our lives. We practice gratitude, folks. We practice gratitude for what we have. We teach that abundance does exist. And Twist says that we experience this abundance by being grateful for what we already have. She calls this going through the portal of sufficiency. And sufficiency, folks, isn't a number. And I love numbers. But sufficiency is not a number. It's not halfway between not enough and too much. Sufficiency just is. It is the experience of being met by the universe where we are with exactly what we need in the moment. And just like obsessing about the future, if we are obsessing too much about acquiring more and more and more of anything, again, we're going to miss the beauty and the blessing of what we have now. There's one more thing I want to share with you about sufficiency, about enough. Sufficiency and enoughness goes far beyond stuff and money. It goes beyond power, titles, and perceptions of success. I believe one of the most important affirmations we can make about sufficiency is we are enough. We are enough. Not at some distant point in the future when we get the degree and when we retire successfully or we meet that hot new spouse or partner or buy the great house on the hill, or even if we become enlightened like Jesus or Buddha or one of the great spiritual masters. No, we are enough now, in this very moment, just as we are, whoever you are, wherever you are. I want you to believe it. I want you to embody it. I want us to live it. So I'm closing today with 2 quotes. The first is from Robin Wall Kimmerer. Gratitude creates a sense of abundance, the knowing that you have what you need. In the climate of sufficiency, the hunger for more abates, and we only take what we need in respect for the generosity of the giver. And the second is from those great theologians, the Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, well, you just might find you get what you need. And so it is.